When you're watching the Marvels, now the worst thing about this movie, it's not the comedy, it's not the singing, it's not the girls, it's not any of that, all right? The biggest problem with this movie is that there's too many ideas in here to make like one simple cohesive story, all right? They just threw a bunch of things into the pot and called it soup. And it's like, what are you doing? This doesn't make any sense. Like, why is this in here? You know what I mean? It's like, now there are certain parts about it that are like, and that, all right. The movie itself is okay. You know, I thought it was okay. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna call it good because it just feels like it feels exactly like what I said. They threw a bunch of things into the pot and they were like, here's a soup. And it's like, why are French fries in the soup? Now they're all soggy. It's like, oh, because people like French fries and, you know, put it in the soup. And it's like, yeah, but now the French fries are all soggy. Like, why'd you throw that into the soup? Like, that makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? It kind of feels like that. And when you have too many ideas, too many concepts, too many things, you can't really make like a really good story. Like, that's the problem, is that there were a lot of things about this movie, parts, moments that I enjoyed. Like, I enjoyed the girls team up, right? Like, I liked how they switched places and because of their light powers and all that other stuff. Like, that felt like that's what the movie felt like it was all trying to be, is that like, hey, we're gonna change. We're gonna have all of these Marvel, Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau. We're gonna have them switch places when they fight, and it's gonna be a girl team up movie. It's like that is like, yeah, okay, cool. You know what I mean? I didn't dislike the girls teaming up or working together or like fighting crime together. Like, that wasn't my problem with the movie. My problem with the movie is that like they're teaming up, but they're not doing anything. You know, it just feels kind of like, oh, they're teaming up, but what are they really doing? You know, it doesn't work. It doesn't feel like they have like a complete idea or a goal or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, let's just throw them together and make them do whatever and fight this person and see what sticks. You know what I'm saying? And the real shame of it is that like, I feel like if this was a solo, like a sequel, like a second solo Captain Marvel movie, it would be way better. Because then you don't have the constraints of like having the Kamala Khan right there and having Monica Rambeau and having to deal with all of those like interpersonal relationships that are kind of like forced. It felt so forced when Monica was talking to like Captain Marvel and being like, why were you out there saving planets instead of coming to Earth to see us? And it's like, do you hear yourself right now, Monica? She's like, we needed you, Captain Marvel. Like, you said you'd be right back for me. And it's like, hello, do you not understand that I have superpowers and that I have to travel multiple galaxies and planets to save people who are going through like terrible stuff? Do you not understand that? It's like, but we needed you. What are you talking about? Like, it just felt so stupid that she was like complaining about that. It's like, do you not understand what I'm going through here? Do you not understand that there's a dozen other Monica Rambeaus across the universe who needed me, who needed my help? And you're saying just to abandon them so I could come visit you for Christmas? Like, that's what we're talking about right now? It definitely didn't work for me. She felt so whiny and complaining and was just like, for what? You know? And while I'm at it, Monica Rambeau is without a doubt the most forced superhero known to man. All right? It makes no sense. She could have just been she could have just been the daughter. Like, that could have been it, you know what I mean? And she works for Saber or Sword or Shield or whatever, right? Like, that could have been it, you know? But instead, they gave her superpowers from WandaVision, and it felt like they were forcing her on us there too. I haven't talked about WandaVision, but she was in that show, and that's how she got her powers and whatnot. And it just felt like they were forcing her to like have a relationship with Wanda and being like, I'm an ally. And it's like, no, we barely know you. We don't care about you. Like, what is going on here? It doesn't work. And she just tries to make herself be this hero. And it's like, she didn't become a hero because she was like sacrificing herself. I mean, she does in the end of this one. And that one felt forced too. And it just felt like, what are we doing here? Like, it's one thing for like, I don't know. It just doesn't work. Like if you look at Captain America, he became a soldier in the 1940s to fight the Germans. Iron Man became a Iron Man when he was like taken by terrorists who were using his weapons for bad stuff. Hulk became the Hulk by mistake by using gamma radiation to recreate the super soldier serum. And I mean, Thor's always been Thor, but like how he becomes worthy of his hammer and of his abilities and his powers makes him a hero. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are noble reasons for them to be heroes. What's her reason for being a hero? What? To go to outer space and fix stuff? Like, she's not doing anything. Kamala Khan, she saves Jersey City. You know, I haven't watched Miss Marvel, but like they make it a point of knowing that like in this movie that like she's the protector of Jersey City and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I haven't watched Secret Invasion. I haven't watched Miss Marvel. None of that. And I had no interest. But anyways, the way that I guess this movie kind of like touches upon their characters, I don't know. It just falls flat. It feels very disappointing, and it's just like, what are we doing here, you know? And so Monica Rambeau feels completely forced, all right? I don't know what they were really thinking. It just doesn't work for me, and it's really a shame, a big, like, I give her a motivation, you know what I mean? Like, I know her mom died, but it's like, what is she doing with that, you know? It fell off for me. So anyways, Kamala Khan, the actress, and I'm not putting that on the actress, Monica Rambeau, I'm not putting on the actress for her. She's doing what she's supposed to do. You know what I mean? And I think it's really cool that she's being a really good representation for like a black female superhero that's not like from Wakanda. You know what I mean? Like, she's doing a pretty good job of what she's given. It's just that they're not giving her enough material to work with, and it's like a big waste. You know, it's what are we doing here? You know, it messes me up when it's like they actually have some pretty good ideas and concepts, but they're not, you know, using it well. So anyways, back to, I was talking about Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan, I feel like the actress who played her and the character itself, they did pretty good with it, all things considered. I mean, yeah, she's a little annoying and she can just like scream and stuff, but like, she's just a kid, you know? And I kind of like how she was like, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Nick Fury and the Avengers and Captain Marvel. Even though I was like, wasn't Captain Marvel on Earth for literally like 2 minutes? Like, I don't know what the big deal is or like why she has such a big crush on her or whatever, but whatever. I just feel like there were a lot of times where I was like, okay, I know what they're doing with Kamala Khan. Like, and I felt like they executed her character well. You know, I wasn't like annoyed by her as much as I was like Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau. I was more annoyed by those two than actually Kamala, because she got thrusted into this. She doesn't even know what's going on, you know? So I feel like she was doing a better job with it, with her character and what she was being put through in this movie. So anyways, Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, compared to the first one and this one, I think in the first one she was a lot more comedic. And in this one, she has a serious tone to her, but then the story itself doesn't follow suit. Like this is why like team ups or like certain moments in movies where it's like we're going to have to put two people together, you have to make sure that the chemistry is already there, you know? Like with Thor Love and Thunder, the chemistry was already there with the Guardians of the Galaxy. They already established it with Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and now that they're there together, it's like, all right, let's see them get into some shenanigans and tomfoolery and stuff like that. Like, you can feel the comedy come off of there. And because you already know the characters and they're established and they can, like, come together, that's like a perfect mix, you know what I'm saying? And that's why when I was talking about Thor Love and Thunder, I was like, I wanted more of that. I wanted them to go on a full-on adventure together. But instead, you know, they separated and they went the story route that they went in, which I think was cool, you know, good choice, you know what I'm saying? But like it fell off a little bit, you know what I mean? And so with this one, it's like this is our first introduction to Kamala Khan. Obviously, she had her own TV show with Miss Marvel, but like I didn't watch that, so, you know, I didn't really care. But this was kind of like her introduction to all of it, and Monica Rambeau after WandaVision wasn't really doing nothing, so this is also her introduction and like showing off what she can do. It just felt like they were like beginning and then expecting us to be like, oh yeah, we're totally on board with this team up. It's like, I don't know, dude, it doesn't work. It feels like a big waste, in my opinion, you know. But once the girls were actually like in that, you know what I mean, like in that bonding moment where they're like learning how to like use and switch their powers and like getting along with each other and having fun or whatever, like that was just, I don't know, it was cute, it worked, it was nice, you know. I just don't like, I don't like how they were like babying Kamala, where like Captain Marvel was like, I'm sorry how I talked to you earlier, you know, when the planet was losing its atmosphere and all the Skrulls were dying, and I told you not to move or use your powers or try not to help anybody, and then we had to abandon all of those Skrulls on the planet because we would have died with them had we not gotten up and moved away. You know, when I was yelling at you to like get inside so we could save people? Yeah, I'm sorry I said that. You know, I'm sorry I was a little bit tense towards you. It's like, come on. Like, you had every right to yell at this little girl. You know what I mean? It's like, stop babying her. Stop treating her like just this baby. You know what I mean? It's like, this is what it is to be a superhero. And that's another point, is that, like, that was actually a really interesting moment in the story where it was like, Kamala had to see that Captain Marvel, her superhero, her favorite, was like, hey, she's doing something wrong and she's not saving everybody, and we have to abandon them, and that's it. You know what I mean? It's like that was genuinely interesting, how watching her favorite superhero mess up, watching her idol actually make bad choices and bad mistakes, and it could make her reflect on her own and say to herself, like, is this what I want? Is this kind of being a superhero really what I want to be? You know, do I want to be this kind of superhero? Do I want to put myself in these crazy situations that puts my family in danger, that puts them in crazy situations, you know? Is this who I am and what I want to do? And the answer is probably not, you know? But they don't dive deeper into it, you know what I'm saying? Instead, it just goes all over the place and everybody's friends, everybody's back to being friendly again. And that's the problem, is that they want it to be like a heavy theme, a heavy like moment, and then it's just girl time again. It's like, it doesn't work. Do you get it? It's just like, they had something there, and had they explored it fully, I think it would have been a lot better of a movie. You know what I mean? But instead, they don't do that. It just feels like there was a lot of wasted concepts and ideas that just didn't work, you know? And then they wasted Samuel L. Jackson and Nick Fury to the side role And I honestly don't know what they were thinking. Like, I really like Nick Fury. I like Samuel L. Jackson. What's he doing up there in space? That threw me for a loop in Far From Home. Like, what is he doing up there? You know, they need to like, maybe it's explained in Secret Wars. Maybe I'm the one tripping. Maybe I'm the one that's like out of his mind. But I just feel like his role in this movie was just so wasted. And I'm just, what are we doing? You know, it doesn't make any sense. So, anyways, the main villain in this movie, I mean, she's kind of generic. She kind of has like her own motivation. It all comes back to Captain Marvel, and it's more so like, this is why this movie should have been a solo sequel to Captain Marvel, and then put in some sprinkles of Monica Rambeau and Kamala Khan in there. It just felt like the focus wasn't really like as good as it should have been on Captain Marvel, and like figuring out how she can like right her wrongs or fix her mistakes. It felt more like, I am the bad guy and I want to do all of these bad things because the Annihilator, Captain Marvel, ruined our lives. It's like, yeah, she messed up. She made like, she's, okay. Captain Marvel was freeing, I forget the name of the planet, Hala. I think the planet is called Hala. That's the name of the bad guy's planet. So they were being controlled by the Kree AI thing from the first Captain Marvel movie. That AI that was like controlling Captain Marvel or whatever. And what is it? She destroyed it. She destroyed it on their planet, freeing them from the Kree rule. But then on Hala, they were all like, well, we don't have the AI anymore. We're going to have to figure out our lives for ourselves. And then that led to a civil war on the planet. And then with the civil war, they destroyed their atmosphere. They dried up all of their natural resources. And their son was dying. So now she was driven to desperation. And she was just like, yeah, let's just figure out how we can like negotiate. So then she was like, I need an atmosphere, I need water, and I need a new sun. I need something to like revive my planet. So then she's like trying to bargain with the Skrulls, and then Captain Marvel comes in and ruins everything, and then those Skrulls end up dying. And then she has to send the Skrulls to New Asgard to live a new life and stuff. And it just feels like it's all leading downhill and stuff. And I don't know, man. I really feel like if they had stayed on that, it would have been a lot more interesting, but they didn't, you know, it bounced all over the place. It went here, it went there. And, you know, it's also really like, I think it was a really good idea to see like Captain Marvel herself, like her actual like form, she can't be defeated, right? Like she wins, like she's strong. Like not once when I was watching this movie I was like, oh snap, is she gonna die? It's like, no, she was obviously gonna live. I didn't fear for Kamala and I didn't fear for Monica Rambeau. I was like, oh, there's no danger for the girls, there's no danger for them. But the Skrulls, they suffered the consequences of her actions. That's the guilt that takes over her. You know what I mean? And I think that could have been like a really big moment for her, is like realizing how guilty she is and not doing enough, not doing more. It's not enough to just save the day and destroy the big thing or the villain and then everything's all right as rain. No, it's like you have to stay there for the long haul. So she freed Hala from the Kree rule, from the AI or whatever it was. She destroyed the machine, but she didn't stick around to see like, how are they going to get along without this thing anymore? They were left to govern themselves, and then they led to a civil war people that were like, let's join the Kree again, and other people being like, no, we're free, she freed us. And then they start like realizing that all of their negative stuff, they didn't have a backup plan. They didn't have anything to like to guide them or to lead them to a new way to rule or to live their lives. It was just like, hey, this is what we used to know, and now we don't have it anymore, so who are we now? You know, that's not to say that Captain Marvel has to be in charge of them or like tell them what to do, but it's more so like it's a lot deeper of a problem than it is just like showing up and destroying the place and then being like, you're free now, do what you will. And then when things go wrong, she's like, hey, that's all them. You know what I mean? It's just like it doesn't work. So I don't know, man. Being Captain Marvel, she can finally see and like realize that like I can't just show up and break stuff. I have to be something more, you know? I can't just show up and destroy everything. I have to like figure out how to best lead people and figure out a way to work out diplomacy, you know? Figure out how to govern. But that doesn't end up happening. Instead, they end up fighting and fighting and fighting the same villain, trying to take natural resources from planets. And then eventually, she's kind of like, you're right, it was all my fault. You know, I'm the one to blame. And so Monica has to be like, she can help you guys. She can definitely help you guys. She's going to restore your son back to normal, you know? So that's what she does. Captain Marvel brings their son back to life, and then the bad guy used the portal or like broke the jump point portal so much that Monica Rambeau has to go and fix them to save the universe. And so she sacrifices herself, and then she is lost in another dimension, a parallel dimension to ours. And then she gets stuck in the parallel dimension, and she meets like her mom, who's like an X-Men, and she's stuck in the X-Men universe, and now that's where she is. I know I sped through all of that, but you know my point is that if you watch the movie, Monica Rambeau went through the portal, the jump point, and she got stuck in another parallel universe. She got stuck in a parallel universe in the X-Men universe, and she got to see her mom, and she was like, Mom, you know what I mean? She was crying, and then her mom was like, yo, chill, I don't even know you, you weirdo. And so she was just like, huh? And then she was just like, who are you? I don't know who you are. And then Beast comes around and is like, she came in through a she came in through a little portal, and I believe she's in another parallel universe. And then Monica's like, oh no. And that's where it ends. It just but listen, I don't blame Brie Larson. I don't blame anybody. Like any of the actresses, they did their part. I honestly liked them when they were working together. I felt like this was a nice, like, cool team up idea, you know? And I genuinely like all their powers together. You know what I mean? Their powers are cool. I like the light-based stuff. And I think that was a really cool change for Kamala Khan, is that hard light superpower. Like, I thought that's really cool, and I like how they fought together and worked together, and the trio of them, it just worked. But I blame the story. I blame the writers. It just didn't work. It felt like there was so much missing. There were so many ideas, so many concepts that they threw into the pot, and they said, yeah, that's a good idea right there. Let's put in the Skrull again, and let's kill them some more. You know what I mean? And then we'll throw in Nick Fury on a spaceship with cats. Ooh, genius idea. And then we'll put Monica in a parallel universe with the X-Men. Genius. You're cooking. And then we're we're gonna take the scrolls to New Asgard, and then they're gonna go on this water planet where they have to sing. Ooh, genius! And then they're gonna take away all of the resources, and then they're gonna steal Earth's sun. Ooh, genius! And then Brie Larson, and then Captain Marvel. She's gonna just reactivate their sun so she doesn't have to take it. You know what I mean? It just feels like they put everything in there, and it just didn't work. Plain and simple, it didn't work. It was bad mix of ideas, you know? But I guess that goes to show just like they were taking chances in that writer's room. They were taking chances, you know? But anyways, and the certain concepts and ideas that they did use where it like was kind of like what they wanted the movie to be, which is like an obnoxious kind of like team up funny movie. I think that's what they were really going for, is like everything else came secondary. First thing was like, how do we get these three women into a room together and have them switch powers? Like that was the whole movie. That's what the whole movie was about. That's all it was supposed to be about. And everything else came secondary, you know? How do we make them a team? How do we make the Marvels a team? There's a bad guy who wants natural resources because of something Captain Marvel did. Genius, you know? Everything else came second, but when it came time for like the singing on the water planet, like I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty good, you know what I mean? They were hitting it with the choreography on that. You know what I mean? They were hitting it. You know what I'm saying? They were doing pretty good. I felt like that concept was executed well, but in the totality of the movie, of the story, it just felt like, okay, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? Do you get what I mean here? Like, yes, it was a good gag, and I thought that it was pretty funny. You know, it worked for the concept and the idea that they had, you know what I mean? And they got to use Brie Larson's like singing ability, which I thought was really nice. You know, that was cool. That was nice. That was a good executed idea. But for the story itself, it was like, why'd you throw that in there? You know what I mean? So, I don't know. When you're watching the Marvels, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. I think above all else, you'll like the team up between the girls. That was probably like my favorite part of the movie, was when they were swapping and fighting. Like, I like that choreography, the fight choreography that they had. That stuff was kind of cool to me. I thought that was fun. You know, outside of that, it's kind of like a mixed bag. But the movie's okay, you know? And that's just what I'll say about it, you know? So, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.